This is the first video of my series that will expose Josh Allen as a fraudulent quarterback, as a non-franchise quarterback, as a quarterback who I don't think falls in the top 10. But I have AP exams coming up. So this video, unfortunately, is going to be very basic. There's not going to be a lot of stuff in this video that talks in depth about Josh Allen and what the throws specifically are. This video is just me proving why he's a bum who will never win a Super Bowl. And now everyone is going to say, if not for the Kansas City Chiefs, the Bills would already be in a Super Bowl. And I have two main arguments against why this makes Allen a good quarterback. First of all, a lot of this can be attributed to good coaching by Sean McDermott. McDermott had made a lot of questionable decisions in the 2023 season. With that being said, McDermott has done a great job coaching the Bills since he took over. Since he took over, the Bills only missed the playoffs in one season. They made the playoffs 5 years in a row. They won the division 4 years in a row. And McDermott has to get a lot of credit. I think that calling for McDermott to be fired, especially after how he was able to save the 2023 season for the Bills, is a bit unreasonable. It's like calling for Sirianni to be fired, or McCarthy to be fired, or even Todd Bowles to be fired. I will say, though, Dennis Allen maybe should have been fired. But a lot of times if a coach hasn't been fired, I defend why they haven't been fired. Usually. Now, as far as the second reason, it's just the fact that the Bills have choked in the playoffs to other teams. In 2019, they lost the playoff game to the poverty Houston Texans. And in 2022, of course, they got smoked by the Bengals. And I feel like, Patrick Mahomes wasn't exactly the greatest quarterback in 2023. He was kind of a turnover machine. He had like 14 total turnovers. That's a lot. I think Mahomes had one of his worst seasons ever. That being said, I'm still willing to say that he's the best QB in football. Josh Allen, I get that having 18 interceptions and 22 total turnovers, was one of the worst in the league. And it was also his worst year. But he's been like this the whole time. Like Jalen Hurts, I'm not high on Jalen Hurts. I don't think he'll be the MVP, and I don't think Hurts is a top 5 quarterback after having 15 turnovers and forcing 5 fumbles. But I do think that Jalen Hurts, it was an off year. He apparently had an injury in week 5, and more importantly, Brian Johnson sucked and kept throwing passes. Like first of all, I know both Allen and Hurts had a Hail Mary, so you really have to put an asterisk next to that. Hurts also had a bad interception in the Seahawks game, 2 of them, and both of them were passes that were over 30 yards down the field. They were actually at or over 40 yards down the field, and neither of them were necessary. And, obviously throws like the 2nd and 20 pick 6 in the game against the Giants, yes, that's going to be his fault. But not all of them, you could say, are his fault. So, you might be asking, where do I put Josh Allen? And for that, we have to discuss the better quarterbacks. No one is disputing that Mahomes isn't the best quarterback, and I agree. I think that the second best quarterback is going to be Lamar Jackson. I get that he's kind of also a running back, but that just means that he's good at quarterback scrambles, which are important. The 26-yard scramble by Mahomes in the Super Bowl was a big reason why they won. Besides Jalen Hurts' fumble that led to a Chiefs touchdown, That was the other really big play. And Lamar's ability to escape pressure and all that, well, it was impressive. And he won 2 MVPs for a reason, and so did Mahomes. It's the reason why Josh Allen never won an MVP. 3 is Joe Burrow, and the only reason why I'm putting Burrow below Lamar Jackson is because while I think Burrow is an amazing quarterback, he does have slightly more injury-prone issues than Lamar Jackson, and he's also had more bad seasons than Lamar. Like, look at the 2020 season of the Bengals. He's also was a big reason why the Bengals didn't make the playoffs, because he didn't play nearly as well as he could have in the first 4 games. Had the Bengals won any of those games, they would have been in the playoffs. But because they lost some very winnable games, they were not. You know, another thing that we have to consider is Aaron Rodgers. I'm not bringing him on this list because you don't know how he'll do as a Jet. And we saw what happened when Russell Wilson got traded. Plus, he missed the entire 2023 season due to an injury. But if Aaron Rodgers does come back and he does have a competent O-line and he hasn't lost it, there is a chance that he could be a really good quarterback and lead the Jets to something productive. Obviously, the Jets are one of the most poverty franchises in the entire NFL. I will still root against them, but it would be kind of cool to see Rodgers lead the Jets to something, even though I hate both Rodgers and the Jets. But yeah, that's the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, and why I'm not putting him on a list, but I just want to throw that out there. We also know how quarterbacks like Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels are going to do. I personally think that that Jayden Daniels leads the Commanders to a playoff spot as a wild card. People are disagreeing with me, but I really think that Jayden Daniels can actually lead Washington to something productive. Now, as far as the number 4 quarterback goes, I know he's a first year. I'm still putting C.J. Stroud, and I don't care. C.J. Stroud has played amazing football. He set the NFL record for the most pass attempts without an interception, and he has overall been very efficient in avoiding turnovers. Not only that, but he also has been, just very accurate. He has a very high passer rating, especially for a first-year quarterback, and he was a big reason why he led the Texans from being one of the worst teams in the entire NFL into a team that is now viewed as a serious contender. The 2024 Texans will be viewed as serious contenders to maybe even win a Super Bowl. Like honestly, there's very few teams that I would be comfortable betting on against the Chiefs in the playoffs. Obviously, the Chiefs have lost in the playoffs before. Only the 2 quarterbacks, though. Tom Brady and Joe Burrow. But I think that if there's any quarterback who I think could beat Mahomes in the playoffs, it's going to be C.J. Stroud. It's going to be C.J. Stroud. Obviously, they were a divisional round exit last year. There still is a lot of a learning experience. Texans have never won a road playoff game, so I think that's really important that the Texans get into a 2 or a 1 seed if they want to make a serious run for it in the playoffs. Number 5, who I think the best NFC quarterback is, I'm going to say Jordan Love, because Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud have very similar seasons. Yes, I will say Jordan Love was a lot more inconsistent than C.J. Stroud and has had some severe turnover issues at the start of the season. And then in the second half, he only had 1 total turnover. Until, of course, the divisional game where he had 2 interceptions. And, of course, one was a bad throw. But I think that Jordan Love is still the best NFC quarterback. And number 6, this is where I put Jalen Hurts. Obviously, he had an off year in 2023, and he did terribly. But if Jalen Hurts can have his 2022 season again and not do stupid things like fumble the ball away at the Super Bowl that leads to a Chiefs touchdown, then I think that the Eagles could be serious contenders in 2024. Number 7 is Jared Goff. Again, the way he was able to lead the Lions to the NFC Championship game makes me put him there. Obviously, Brock Purdy's going to be up there. Tua, they're system quarterbacks to some degree, both of them. But there's a reason why, they're so good, is that they're actually accurate with the ball. And they don't throw turnovers. Now, is this to say that Josh Allen is a bad quarterback? No. He still could be fringe top 10 material. He's definitely the top 12 in terms of quarterbacks for right now. But I just think that, as of right now, Josh Allen has just proven that he's too reckless with the ball to do anything useful or productive in any big game. He's had turnovers against bad defenses because he's just having so many issues. Whew. Okay.